All right, here we go. All right, y'all. We are not going to spend too much time explaining for the finale because we got 40 to get through. And just look at it this way: if they made it this far on the list, it means that every one of these rappers, whether higher or lower in this 40, is exceptionally good because this is like the cream of the crop. So now we're really getting into who I think the best are as far as their music, their lyrics, and their impact on hip hop and rap culture. So, first we got Tretch from Naughty by Nature. If you don't know who Naughty by Nature is, they won a Grammy for the album um, Poverty's Paradise, I believe it's called. That album is so good. I mean, for songs like Feel Me Flow, The World Turns. I'm gonna look that up quick too. See, I know I said I wouldn't talk about it that much, but I can't help it. It's in my nature. It's in my naughty by nature. I know that was a horrible joke, but it just I felt like I had to try to salvage that. Okay. So yeah. Of course, they had other hits like OPP. Their self-titled album was a classic. And I mean, um, Poverty's Paradise, because they had made it all that way. Um, that was their third album. Their second album was also quite good, but their fourth, yeah, this is the fourth. Poverty's Paradise just happened to really take their like music to a whole nother level because yeah, it won the Grammy Award of 1996 for Best Rap Album, which was a new category that year. They had just introduced that category, and the first to win it was Naughty by Nature. And I mean, they had Vin Rock was another MC in the group, but I mean, it's Tretch that really held it down. The dude made songs with Tupac, he made songs with Big Pun. He was just a beast of a lyricist. In fact, Busta Rhymes talks about him in the song "The Ghetto" that he did. So yeah, I mean, they had songs like Clap Your Hands, Poverty's Paradise, City of CeeLo, Hang Out and Hustle, It's Working, Holding Fort, Chain Remains, Feel Me Flow, Craziest, Sunshine, Respect Due, World Go Round, Clico, Slang Bang, and Connections. I mean, all these songs are monster hits. Like as far as like their music, Naughty by Nature's contributions. If you really wonder why Trench and Naughty by Nature really make it this far up on the list, go check out Poverty's Paradise because you'll get an example right there why I have to put them at number 40. So okay, number 39, Foxy Brown. First female rapper to appear on this list. You probably wonder, is he hating on the females, man? He ain't put any female MCs or rappers on here. That's because, well, I figure, either go hard or go home. And with these female rappers, they were so good that you notice I actually consider them better than quite a lot of male rappers when you consider the competitive nature of what they're up against, right? So, Foxy Brown, I mean, those first two albums alone. Broken Silence wasn't bad, but I mean, let's just break down Il Na Na, the classic debut. China Doll, an amazing sophomore album too. But I mean, Foxy's got smooth flow. She really represents Brooklyn. She's got sick lyrics. She's mad sexy. I mean, whew, I'll put it this way: if your parents found like the pictures from her album covers just laying around, they'd think you were looking at dirty magazines or something. Cause she puts it all on display, which she doesn't have to do that because she is quite a lyrical, you know, assassin with the way she is so good with her rhymes. But it doesn't hurt that she's also quite nice to look at. She's good eye candy. And she really got the image of a China doll. Now, of course, before her debut in her sophomore, she had been featured on songs like Affirmative Action. She did songs with she made the Firm album with Nas, AZ, and Nature, who replaced Cormega. That came later, but I mean, some of her first appearances were so iconic because she was on the I Shot Ya remix with LL Cool J, Fat Joe, Prodigy of Mobb Deep, and Keith Murray. I believe that was all the dudes on it. I'm trying to remember. Okay. Let me, just so I don't miscredit this. So, okay. I apologize for that door slamming. It seems like something's always going down when I'm trying to do this, but okay. So, yeah, we got Keith Murray, Prodigy, Fat Joe, Foxy Brown, and of course the legend LL Cool J. And then she does the song which makes it on the Nutty Professor soundtrack, Ain't No N Word, which is a song on Jay-Z's classic, best masterpiece of an album ever, Reasonable Doubt. So, you know, right from the beginning of her career, she was off to a good start. Around the era of Broken Silence, she got locked up. Her career kind of started to go downhill, but always one of the best female rappers. And I feel like the music she made in her prime was just some of the best hip hop music ever made. So that's why I got to give her flowers and put her at 39. Anyways, on to 38. We got um I keep looking at this list and I feel like I might have made a mistake because I'm looking at it and I'm like, why am I one number ahead of everything? I can't figure it out. I'm like sitting there thinking like, did I write a number twice or something? Like something is just not adding up with this list and I can't figure out what it is. So I'm trying to figure it out, but I'm still not able to. Hold on. You know what? We'll just go with it and we'll say like in fact, you know what? Why don't we just to round this off, I'm gonna cut somebody out of this list, but I'm gonna cut somebody that I feel is least important. If I gotta cut somebody, I gotta cut somebody who's less important. Somebody I like less or listen to less, right? So yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go with that. Just and it's no disrespect. The person I decided to cut, and I'm gonna give him shout outs anyway, just because he is important to hip hop, and it's not to bash him. I just haven't listened to that much of his music to really speak out that much of an opinion about him, right? So the person I would end up cutting is MC Shen, but then that balances out the list completely. But at the same time, the song he did, The Bridge, was iconic. He was one of the first rappers. So no hate or disrespect towards MC Shen. I just feel like I made a mistake and I can't fit all these people into the list that landed on 40 to 1. So I'm going to have to just put them. But let's just say, you know what? To be fair, we'll put them all the way back at 101. That way, so technically this list would be 101 rappers now because somehow I made a mistake or maybe I miscredited a number along the way and maybe there is 100. I don't know, but I don't feel like going back and doing all that. It's already been a lot of work to do this list, as you can imagine. Sitting here sorting through 200 rappers and picking 100 best is no easy task, especially when you see potential in all of them. Like I mentioned, Jean Grey. Jean Grey probably would have been like 102 or something because she was tight as a female rapper too, and another one of my favorite female MCs. But anyways, getting back to the point, number 38 is Eric Sermon. Now, if you know who EPMD is, you already can guess why he's there. Besides being a fantastic MC, I actually consider him the better rapper of the two. He discovered a lot of great artists. He helped build Das Effects. He helped discover Redman, K Solo, Keith Murray. The beats were dope. And I mean, he also formed the Def Squad, which had some great music between him, Redman, and Keith Murray. So yeah, Eric Sermon, like that's one of those people. If you don't know, you need to go check him out because he's got the hypeness. And I mean, I wouldn't even mind having Eric Sermon produce a thing for me or making a track with me because the dude's nice. He's dope. And I mean, he is responsible for all those classics from Strictly Business and all the other great EPMD albums, as well as solo albums, and all the other artists he helped discover and contribute to their music. He was also very cool with Craig Mack, it's worth noting, right? All right, so next we got 37, LL Cool J. And I mean, Mama Said Knock You Out, Rock the Bells, I Shot Your remix, which I just mentioned. Like, LL's iconic. Besides being known as a very good actor, he's done a lot of acting roles. I mean, he is essential to hip hop because you notice he ended a lot of rappers' career just by dissing them or beefing with them. I mean, it's sad because some of those rappers were actually pretty good. You look at Ice-T, Kumo D, Cannabis, all that kind of getting thrown under the bus by this monster titan of a rapper, but dude was nice, right? That's why, like, Mama Says Knock You Out is really the quintessential song to describe him as an MC because if you come stepping to him, he is gonna knock you right out of the box and ruin your career. So for being that like heavyweight champion of rap in that sense, gotta put him in the top 40. You know what I mean? Next we got 36, DMX. Now, of course, another great rapper, but I mean, he's got so many great songs. Lord Give Me a Sign, Rough Riders Anthem, Up in Here, Party Up in Here, that's what it's called. Um, the N word's done start or something, which I keep talking about because everybody on that rap sort of posse cut, the Locks and Mace and everybody was so nice. But of course, he comes at the end and he just destroys that shit. And then he did the same thing on 24 Hours to Live, right? Like he had 5 other rappers to come in with, and yet he delivered the best verse. So it's because he can do stuff like that. I mean, he also made underground appearances with Jay-Z, Ja Rule, and stuff before they got this shit cracking. In fact, there was a song from the Streets is Watching soundtrack where it's Ja Rule, Jay-Z, and DMX. Now, what I could say was this song had my favorite Ja Rule verse on it, which is an odd thing to say. He didn't even make the list. He's not really been ever one of my favorite rappers, but his verse was tight on that song. And I think it was so good because X comes in at the end with the best verse on the whole song and just destroys everybody. And I mean, he beat Jay-Z in a freestyle battle. So it's like there's the iconic nostalgia of that he is just a monster. And he went through a lot of things. He died recently. May he rest in peace. But DMX was hot, man. I mean, him and Mace were good friends, which is why he does the chorus for the song Take Yours on Harlem World on top of doing the verse on 24 Hours to Live. So X just had such a hype energy and he had some really creative lyrics. And then this, because I was talking about LL Cool J, the song he does with LL Cool J, Cannabis, Redman, Method Man, and Master P, his verse on that is quite a contender. Like everybody is so nice on that song, it's hard to pick a favorite verse. But damn, like his verse on that too is clever. Like he's got that aggressive, like kind of style to him, yeah. But his lyrics are actually tight too, which I think he gets overlooked for how good lyrically he is. So that's why, for that reason, I gotta, give him his props, give him his flowers, put him on the list. Next at 35, we have Common, formerly known as Common Sense, who almost got sued for his name and had to change it to Common. Now, I mean, his classic debut album was fresh. His second album, where he did I Used to Love Her, was great. Someday It Will All Make Sense. And I had the album after that, like Water for Chocolate, which was a masterpiece. I love that record. And I mean, even the latest stuff he did, like when he did The People, he did songs with Kanye. I mean, throughout his whole career, Common has always made really good music, and he's quite a gifted MC. He's competitive, he's got real skills, but he's also got positivity to his music that you don't hear with a lot of rappers. And that's why I dig Common, because he's using his talent and his creativity, and he's a really dope MC and everything, but he's actually trying to shift hip hop in a more positive direction, which I really dig and I can respect that about him. So, yeah, gotta give Common his love. I think my favorite songs would be I also like Driving Me Wild featuring Lily Allen. That's probably my favorite Common song. I used to love her. I love that song. Um the people, like I mentioned, the song he did with Cannabis was fresh. I forget what the title was, but I think it was called Making a Name for Myself or Ourselves. Like, that was a hype cut. And then also his verse on the Pharaoh Monk song with Talib Kweli, that song was like, his verse on that was sick. So yeah, I've never heard Common rap a verse that I wasn't digging. He is actually a very consistent MC in that. He has always spit some great lyrics. I mean, he had beef with Ice Cube. I'm glad they settled it, but you know, the fact that it got to that point, Common can hold his own too. He's not to be taken lightly, even though he's preaching about positivity in his music a lot, right? So, okay, on to the next one. Large Professor. And Large Professor, or Large Proj for short, fantastic rapper, always has been since he first appeared in hip hop um as a part of Main Source with their album Breaking Atoms, which is where Nas made his debut appearance on the song Live at the Barbecue. And I mean, Nas was dope on that, but Large Pro, I mean, I love Large Pro's lyrics. I mean, when I actually bought one of his albums, which was a newer album in 2012, I think it was, called Professor at Large. Yo, that was one of the last really classic hip hop albums I heard in a long time. Like, I mean, the cuts like Mac Don Ills with Granddaddy IU and Mike Geronimo, the songs with Cormega and Tragedy Gaddafi, LP Surprise, Live Again. I mean, the beats was just crazy and dope on that. And I mean, Mars was tight, yo. Mars was a tight cut, man. Like, all those beats are fresh. Like, Large Professor is an amazing producer. I would love to have him make me some beats because he's sick with it. And then I mean, that's the thing. He is more known as a producer because he's done some really big iconic production work, like making 3 songs from Nas's Illmatic. But as far as his lyrics, he's so underrated because yo, he's slick with it. Like, if you wonder how good Large Professor is as a rapper, as an MC, listen to LP Surprise and tell me that ain't like some of the best, dopest lyricism you ever heard. Like, I loved it because when I was listening to this album, this was around the time I had finished watching the show Dexter. And the one character in the show, he jumps out and he's like, "Surprise, motherfucker!" And like, he used that as part of his line because the song's called LP Surprise, right? And the way he tied it into the flow and everything, I was like, yo, okay. That is the best reference ever. Like, he just killed it. So, yeah, I got lots of love and hype respect for Large Professor for sure. So, yeah, number 3, the final member of the Ghetto Boys, which I feel he's so underrated. Some people say Willie D wrote most of his original lyrics, right? But Bushwick Bill at number 33, I really love because he's got some of my favorite songs and verses with the Ghetto Boys. And I mean, that whole first album of his, I'm not even dissing Scarface or Willie D, but Little Big Man was an album I could listen to over and over again, start to finish. And because he's short, I'm kind of short. I'm not really that tall. He's short than me. Like, this guy was literally a midget, right? But I mean, he'd make you feel like, okay, even short dudes can be scary and intimidating and intense because he proves that. And I mean, The beat's got this southern funky edge to it. His lyrics are hard as fuck. And then he's got this one song, and this is what really got me in to Bushwick Bill and the Ghetto Boys and all that. The song Ever So Clear, where he breaks down the true story about how he got shot in the eye and barely survived. The bullet kind of bounced off the back of his skull and went out the back, but it missed his brain. And he was so lucky. He lost an eye. And the ending line of that song, it still gives me chills even when I think about it. I'm glad that I'm here, G, but it's fucked up. I had to lose an eye to see shit clearly. And I was like, wow. And like just the story he tells, the beat, every song on that album is like so good. And that's why, like, I just love that album. I love Bushwick when he does songs too, like on the Ghetto Boys. He does The Other Level and Chucky. And then he's also got Fuck a War, which is pretty funny. Like, that's what I like about Bushwick, because he was a bad little midget, wild ass motherfucker, but he was hilarious. Like, because you wouldn't want to fuck with this guy, but at the same time, he would just say some really funny shit that you couldn't help but laugh at. And you hear the stories about this guy. This guy was wild. He was crazy. Like, you would underestimate this guy because he's a midget. Yo, he would fuck your shit up, man. Like, that's what I'm saying. You look at that to be the character that he was and make all the great music he did with such deep, heartfelt emotion. I love Bushwick Bill, and I think he's so underrated. Like I said, you go listen to We Can't Be Stopped. Tell me he don't have some of the best moments on that record. And then also, listen to Little Big Man if you're still not convinced. Listen to that whole album start to finish, and you'll see why I put Bushwick Bill so high up on this list. All right. Now we at 32 for Kanye West. Now, Kanye West really fell off the map for me. I know a lot of people would put him much higher up there on their list. And I get why. As far as being a producer, as far as being a lyricist, the guy is nice. In fact, he's this high up because, I mean, those first three albums, The College Dropout, Late Registration, Graduation, phenomenal. They're masterpieces. Like, they are some of the best hip hop albums ever. And as a character, he seems like a pretty wild dude. And I think he might have gone a little crazy, especially since he, like, you know, got divorced by Kim Kardashian and his mom died. I think he's going through a lot, and he's a very troubled guy. And that's why he's wilding out saying all this crazy stuff. But I think there might be some truth to it, especially the stuff he was saying about Diddy. Like, you know, maybe he's seen some shit that he didn't want to see. But what I could say is, if you take that aside from it and you just look at it from a musical level, those first three albums are solid classics. They won Grammys. All the songs on those are dope. I mean, Through the Wire, All Falls Down. Then you got songs like Diamonds from Sierra Leone. Gold Digger's not bad. I'm thinking more songs like Spaceship, and then songs like Touch the Sky, right? Heard 'em Say. Heard 'em Say is one of my favorite songs, even still to this day. And then the song he did with Chris Martin, Homecoming, from Graduation, The Good Life with T.I. I mean, those songs are just so good as songs. Like, that's why I got lots of love and respect him. Like, I put all the controversy and all the personal issues aside. In the case of, like, if we just talking on a musical level, the man is very, like, iconic as far as his beats, his lyricism, evolving hip hop, bringing back sort of a renaissance era in a time where people didn't want to use samples anymore. The dude is just incredible for that. When we talking about a straight music level. Now, I've actually, you know, talked to Kim Kardashian, and I kind of understand why she divorced him and all that stuff going on. But, like, what I could say though for reals is, if you're just looking at him as an artist though, the man is incredible. Personal wise, he might be a little off the wall and stuff. Like, fair enough. But for the sake of this list, we ain't talking about that. We talking strictly about the music. And that's why he falls in at number 32. So, 31, we got 50 Cent. Now, it's kind of funny because Kanye beat 50 Cent when they had a battle for who would sell more records when it was Curtis versus Graduation. Overall, I like 50 Cent more because 50 Cent has always kept it real. Now, 50 Cent, he made the iconic album Get Rich or Die Trying. Then he did The Massacre, he did Curtis, and he did Before I Self-Destruct. Now, Before I Self-Destruct was one of my favorite albums of that year. There were so many great hip-hop albums that year, and I would still say 50 had the best record that year. I mean, when you're competing against Graduation, Curtis wasn't that good. In comparison to the two, I'm saying I get why Kanye beat him. Not to say that Curtis wasn't good. Graduation was just better. And I'm saying, considering how many other great albums came out before I Self-Destruct, it's so overlooked. But if we're being real, we're keeping it 100. Before I Self-Destruct, musically, some people talk about the cheesy cover and him putting a movie in it and all that as being corny. I'm saying just look at the music on that record, the beats, the lyricism. I mean, the songs like Stretch. Yo, Stretch was one of the best 50 Cent songs ever. And it was on Before I Self-Destruct. I mean, Do You Think About Me? That's some deep shit. Crime Wave. All these great songs, man. Like, and then of course, Get Rich or Die Trying. You got Patiently Waiting. You got Heat. You got If I Can't. The iconic In the Club, which wasn't really my favorite song, but it was a good, catchy club song, right? But I mean, the songs where he just keeping it real, and then you got Many Men. You got High All the Time. I mean, man, the dude has just got raps for days. The iconic Candy Shop, Window Shopper, Hustler's Ambition. He's just got songs. I'll Whip Your Head, Boy. Like, he's got songs for days that are just hard and dope. And I mean, this is the dude that literally, before he even had a name for himself, he appeared on Onyx Records on the song React, which had an amazing verse on that. And then he makes How to Rob, threatens to rob so many figures in the industry, gets shot up. Nobody wanted to touch him. And against all odds, Eminem took a gamble and signed him. And then Eminem, look at it this way, 50 Cent became so big, Eminem started trying to copy him when he did the Eminem Show. And that's why the Eminem Show wasn't that good, because Eminem stopped trying to be the hard, crazy, wild, original Eminem we grew to love. He started trying to talk like 50 Cent because he knew he could sell more records telling like that. Not that I think he made better music, but he sold more albums. It did work as a marketing strategy. But I say 50, you can't hate for that, because 50 Cent's being true. 50 Cent's being real. That's how 50 Cent always was. That's his style. So I could dig that. I could respect that. He's coming from it from a place of business, similar to Jay-Z. But Eminem trying to do that, in my opinion, it just doesn't work, because everything we grew to love about Eminem wasn't that. So that's why I feel like that's where part of the decline in Eminem's career really began, because 50 Cent was so successful being him. Eminem tried to be like 50. And that's just my opinion. You don't have to agree, but that's what I'm saying anyway, right? So, yeah, that's why I say, as far as we talking records and music, 50 Cent's dope. Got to put him at 31. And the funny thing is, this is what's really funny about this too. At number 30, we got Lauryn Hill, and at 29, we actually have Eminem. So they're not far apart as far as where I'd put them. But first, let's get to Lauryn Hill, because I consider her lyrically the greatest female MC that ever was. Like, she's an amazing singer, and she doesn't get credit for that much. Like, the thing is, I feel like she is so underrated, because of course she had all the great stuff with the Fugees, which with the Score, it became the biggest selling female, it became the biggest selling hip hop album of all time, The Score by the Fugees, right? And then with her solo album, she does The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. And honestly, that is one of the greatest albums I've ever heard of any genre. Like, I don't even just look at it as a hip hop album, because throughout the album there's times where she's just singing like R&B kind of style, and those songs are equally beautiful. Like, what is amazing about like The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill is that every track is amazing and every track is so different. Like, you go through the intro, you go to Lost Ones, some of the hardest rap lyrics I have ever heard. Like, she kills it. She's amazing on Lost Ones. As an MC, she obliterates anybody, whether they're male or female. She kills them on Lost Ones. Then she does the R&B cut, X Factor, which is very beautifully sung, nice melody, wonderful song. And then she's got To Zion, which features Carlos Santana playing guitar on it. So you know that's going to be hype. And then she's got Doo Wop, That Thing, where she sings really good on it, but she's also got some dope, hard lyrics on it. Then she's got Superstar. She's got Final Hour, When It Hurts So Bad, I Used to Love Him, featuring Mary J. Blige, Forgive Them, Father, which is tight, Every Ghetto, Every City, Nothing Even Matters, which is a beautiful duet with D'Angelo, Everything Is Everything, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, Can't Take My Eyes Off You, which is a bonus track. And then it says there was another hidden track called Tell Him, but oh yeah. Now I remember. Like, I'm even thinking. I'm like, I don't remember that like being in like the album, but it was a hidden track. That's why I don't remember it. But now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, oh no, I do remember. That was a really nice, well sung R&B track. But that's what I'm saying. She sings a lot through that album. But when she's rapping, she is dropping some of the hardest, most dope rhymes I ever heard. So, got to give Lauryn Hill her props and put her at number 30. Now, for number 29, as I was mentioning, Eminem. Now, this is where it gets tricky. The times where I think Eminem was his best, he was incredible. And I'm going to list them off. And, this is my own personal opinion. Take it with a grain of salt. Nobody has to agree. Nobody has to disagree. But this is how I look at it. When he dropped Infinite, it was underground. That album, if it had been more appreciated, was actually a phenomenal piece of lyricism. The beats were great. It wasn't gangster rap, but it was a beautiful, awesome, amazing album as far as the lyrics and everything. Like, it was so good. And I mean, it also shows how good Con Artist, aka Mr. Porter, was as a producer and a rapper, appearing on it with both those aspects of it several times. Then he did the Slim Shady EP, which Dr. Dre heard. It was phenomenal too. And a lot of those songs got recreated and reused for the album, the Slim Shady LP. His greatest album, his masterpiece, his magnum opus. Now, I'm not saying that's it. Some people think that was it. I don't think so. I think the Marshall Mathers LP was quite good. In fact, I think it was so good because he had to prove to everybody that he wasn't going to be a flash in the pan like Vanilla Ice. In some ways, it's better. In other ways, not quite. But I would say it's up there as some of his best work. And I'll put it this way. Where it is stronger than the Slim Shady LP is strong enough that it kept his career and his reputation growing. Then he starts doing the 8 Mile soundtrack. His songs on that were incredible. All the production he did for other artists who appeared on it, dope. He was so good. That's when he was his best as a producer, was the 8 Mile soundtrack. Because he's producing songs for Rakim and Gangstar and, Jay-Z and Freeway and all these other artists. Like, he was killing it, man. As far as the production, that's also when 50 Cent made his first appearance with Wanksta. So, yeah. It was dope. It was fresh. Like, that whole record. And then he had songs, obviously, like 8 Mile Road, Lose Yourself. The classics. Then the Eminem Show. which I feel like he started trying to be like 50 Cent. Some of those songs were just kind of too jokey and just weren't really that good. They were just too poppy for me to really, because Eminem didn't start out trying to sound all poppy. He was rapping about shock value and he was dark and he was telling you all these crazy stories of what life was like in his hood and how he grew up and all that. And I could dig that because he was being real. He was being true to himself. That was Eminem in his best. Then we drop Encore, which, in my opinion, actually was slightly better in some regards than the Eminem show. I get why a lot of people didn't like Encore. He had that poppy stuff throughout it, and some of it was kind of whack and dumb. But there were songs like Toy Soldiers where he was talking about real shit again, and we could get a glimpse of the Eminem that we started with, the Eminem that we loved. And it's the same thing with the Eminem show. It's not to say that every song on the Eminem show was bad, like Till I Collapse, Say What You Say, Sing for the Moment. He did have some pretty good songs peppered throughout the record. And the same thing with like Encore, One Last Time. He had the song Like Toy Soldiers. These things, they were great. And then he kind of fades away, does the greatest hits. He comes back with Relapse. Now, Relapse is very, you either love it or you don't. I actually fall into the category of love it. And this might sound weird because I don't think it's some of his best work. I can admit that. But what I will say I love about Relapse and that era of his music is he was going through shit. So everything he was dealing with was coming out in those songs. Now, some of it was a little off the wall of weird, but I mean, there were some really stellar moments like Crack a Bottle, One Last Time, Deja Vu, My Darling. My Darling is probably my favorite Eminem song ever. I know that sounds weird. That song is hard. It's scary as fuck. It's dope. That's the closest we ever got to the Eminem from the Slim Shady LP and EP coming back. Like, oh my God. And then Beautiful. That's what I'm saying. There were a lot of really great, wonderful songs in that era. Then he drops Recovery. And I feel like he just tried to start becoming like Lil Wayne. He tried to become like Lil Wayne. And I mean, when he did the song Forever with Drake, Kanye, and Lil Wayne, like, I kind of knew, okay, Eminem's going back to this selling out poppy formula again. And I'll put it this way, on my Recovery, he had some songs that were really good. I liked Spacebound. I liked You're Never Over, which was probably my favorite song on that record, and then Changes. So he's always had good music. I'm not saying he's always been whack and he ain't put out good stuff. But I mean, compared to his first couple albums, I mean, the first two albums and even his underground album, Infinite, I would say those are all worthy of listening to straight through because those were classics. They were masterpieces. No skips, just play the whole thing straight through. He ain't had that since the Marshall Mathers LP. Just keeping it real. And that's my opinion, right? Being honest, my Recovery disappointed me with how poppy he got so much. I stopped listening to him after that. Not to say he ain't dope and he ain't done anything good since. I just stopped really caring. But for the highs in his career, that's why my man falls in at number 29. And it's not hate, there's love. I mean, when he did the stuff I loved, some of my favorite joints, like my favorite song by him, probably it wasn't even a single, one of the most underrated songs, I'm Shady from the Slim Shady LP. One of my favorite songs ever. So good. His lyrics, the beat, the chorus. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It might seem like, oh, I hate on him, I'm jealous or something. No. I got love for him. When he did stuff that I liked, some of my favorite shit ever in hip hop. You dig? So I ain't hating on him. I'm just giving my honest opinion about what I like, what I don't like. So I really wanted to explain that because some people might think, oh, you hating on him because he's more successful than you and you're both white. No, not at all. So that's why he falls in there, and that's why I put him at that spot. Next at 28, we got Cormega. And I mean, the testament, the realness. Um, Hold on. I'm gonna go to his discography because I'm gonna explain to you why this guy is so good for an underground rapper to make as many classic records as he's had. We're gonna go through this completely. So the Testament was supposed to be his original debut, but he got screwed out of it after he recorded it from Def Jam. He had to basically save up money and buy the rights to it to re-record it and release it. Well, to re-release it as his third album, but it was originally his first. So you could hear this was mega in the beginning. It's almost like a prequel, this album. Like, because his first official released album was The Realness. It was dope. The True Meaning, amazing. I mean, I love both those records. I mean, Get Out My Way. Okay, I'm going to go to The Realness quick. We're going to go through this because, yeah, this is just a classic record. Okay. So, I mean, Get Out My Way. You Don't Want It. Oh my God. That was one of the hardest tracks I ever heard. Like, I love You Don't Want It. They Forced My Hand. So, right from the beginning, his first released album, he had bangers like that. Fallen Soldiers is also dope. I mean, and then you had The True Meaning. The True Meaning, he had even more songs I loved. Like, he had um A Thin Line, Love In, Love Out, The Come Up with Large Professor, Built for This, Endangered Species, Therapy. All these songs are so good. Then he did the compilation album, right? The compilation album was pretty good. But then, like I say, we get to the prequel. This is where he dropped some of the dope stuff. Like, I mean, you know what? We'll go through the Legal Hustle because I could tell you exactly what makes this worth listening to. Sugar Ray and Hearns featuring Large Professor, dope. Redemption with AZ, dope. Dangerous with Under P and Vibes Cartel, dope. My favorite cut, Let It Go with MOP. So good. So good. Straight up. And then yeah, like I say, all these songs are pretty good, but those were my favorites from that record. And then yeah, we get to the prequel, which would have been his first album. I mean, right from the start, you got intro, then you got 62 pickup. I love 62 pickup. One Love as a response to Nas song, One Love, great. And then you got Angel Dust with Havoc. So good. You got Dead Man Walking, which was the first song that ever sort of appeared out there because they used part of it in the intro to Foxy Brown's album. So people had heard a bit of Dead Man Walking before it was even released because of that. But it never got released on the time they expected it to. Dead Man Walking, one of the hardest, dopest, gangsta ass stories on a song that I ever heard. It's just crazy. One of my favorites. Montana Diaries, very good. Testament is great. Both versions of it. Every Hood is pretty cool. Cocoa Butter. Oh, I love that, man. The beat, the lyrics, fresh, yo. And then he's got Killer's Theme with Mob Deep. Oh man, that's so dope. Like that song's eerie, but it's so cool and catchy. And then he's got Love is Love with Tiffany singing it. Great. Dead Man Walking Part 2. Great. So like that's what I mean. If that had been released properly on time, he would have cemented his reign in hip hop right away because that was a masterpiece of a first album that he could have dropped that had to be released as his third album because he had to save up the money to buy the rights back for it. And then here we go. We get into the fourth album, Born and Raised. I mean, this is another album that every song is so good. Prelude, the intro, The Third Coming, Girl with LES producing, Love Your Family with Havoc, Get It In featuring Little Fame. Like all the production on this is so good because you got Crisis producing the first part, Bear One producing the second part of the intro, LES doing Girl. Then you got Havoc doing Love Your Family, which he raps on. Get It In with Little Fame is Easy Mo B, a classic producer. The Other Side with Fizzy Womack, which is Little Fame, his moniker as a producer. Then you got Live and Learn, produced by Pete Rock. Then you got Make It Clear by DJ Premier. Oh, man, one of my favorite songs by Cormega ever. Live and Learn, The Other Side, Make It Clear, Journey, so good. Large Professor produced that one. Then you got Define Yourself with Tragedy, Gaddafi, and Havoc on it, produced by DR Period. Dope. What Did I Do? Knots produced that one. Dirty Game, another DJ Premier joint. One Purpose, just a cappella. Rapture, Ayatollah, and then Buck Wild produces the final song. And check this. Let me just mention who the hell is all on this record, and you'll see why it's so hype. He is featuring DJ Red Alert, Parrish Smith of EPMD, Grand Poobah, KRS-One, and none other than Big Daddy Kane. All on one track. Shit is fucking wild. Mega Fresh X. Check that song out if you don't know. And then he had another compilation album, which I actually never listened to after that. And then Mega Philosophy was the last album I listened to. Now, I really liked Mars, the Dream Team featuring AZ, Redman, and Styles P. I loved Industry. I loved DU, Divine Unity with Nature. Honorable featuring Raekwon was pretty good. Home with Black Rob wasn't bad. And the rest was kind of, it was still good. But like, you know, that's why I say, like, I actually preferred the album before that to Mega Philosophy. But Large Professor, his production on that album was dope. I can say that. And that's why I say, like, he is a phenomenal producer, which is probably why Cormega had him produce the whole album, which I bet you Nas might have even been jealous of, because Nas originally wanted Illmatic to be produced completely by Large Professor, and it never happened. Yet, Cormega was able to get Large Professor to produce an entire album for him. So in the end, he kind of beat him in that regard. All right, anyways, we moving on. Now at 27, we got Heavy D from Heavy D and the Boys. I mean, what makes Heavy D great, he is an old school legend. If you don't know him, go check out. He's got that great song with so many other rappers like Cool G Rap and Big Daddy Kane called Don't Curse. I think my favorite song by him is Now That We Found Love featuring singer Aaron Hall. So quick. The beat is fresh. Like, that's what made Heavy D great, is he could rap to like house kind of techno club beats. Like, rap really fast. And he was this big dude. He was the first like kind of really chubby dude in hip hop. But he was nice. He was tight. And he became a legend. May he rest in peace. I mean, I heard a song with him, and I think it was 8 Ball or MKG or something like that, and Big Pun and Heavy D on a song. And that song, I forget what the title was. That song was just crazy. Hold on, let me see. That song alone, I mean, obviously, On Point. That's what it was. And it was 8 Ball. I was right. Okay. On Point was such a good song. And it showed that even in the later years, Heavy D always managed to remain relevant. All right, let's move on to the next one, because we still got quite a bit more to do. In fact, I'm kind of starting to think maybe I'm rethinking this, and I am going to split it in 40, because I ended up getting more into this and talking more about the artist than I planned to. I'm trying to keep it short and sweet, but as soon as I start talking about them, I kind of feel compelled and feel the need to explain why I'm putting them there. I mean, it is my opinion, but I kind of want people to understand what makes them so good, in hopes that, hey, maybe you'll listen to what I say and go check out these dudes out of love and respect for them, of course, right? I mean, even the people who I've kind of criticized in some regards, they all dope. If they on this list, they great. You know, love is love completely. So next we have the iconic Eazy-E. Now, for a dude who didn't write his lyrics, who had asthma and was just straight up a gangster in the hood, who happened to have the money necessary to form Ruthless Records and start NWA, he's got iconic verses, man. I mean, his debut album, Easy Does It, easier said than done. The self-titled track, man, he had bangers. Still Talking, all these joints. And then, I mean, I love Fuck with Dre Day when him and Dr. Dre were dissing each other. I love Fuck with Dre Day. I also love Real Motherfucking Cheese because the shit he says on that is so funny, man. I mean, Neighborhood Sniper, Easy E's just got some really hard gangster songs. And I mean, his verses on like, the NWA stuff is dope too. I mean, that's why I know he didn't write his lyrics and he was kind of more like the group representative of the gangster lifestyle. But songs like Boys in the Hood, how could you knock the dude? The dude was iconic. I mean, he could rock a party because you know what? Even if he didn't write his lyrics, these lyrics were who he was. These lyrics fitted him because that's how he was. So he was being true to himself. He might not have written it himself, but the lyrics that were written for him were his lifestyle. And that's what makes him so iconic because he could authenticate it and take what was good lyrics from other people and really bring them to life because he was the character in real life that these lyrics were describing. And for that reason, rest in peace, Easy. It's sad we couldn't have seen more from you, but yeah, you come in at number 26. Number 25, we got AZ. Now, I mean, with the classic album Do or Die, the song Life's a Bitch, where he was the only guest rapper on Nas's Illmatic, the song I mentioned he did with Cormega that was dope. AZ has always been a freaking amazing lyricist. And you know what? I'll put it this way. Nas might be more iconic to hip hop and he might be a more successful MC in that regards. But if we were really being straight up here, I put him farther down the list because Nas does have one thing stronger than him, and I'm not even talking about success. His importance and significance to hip hop is a lot more substantial than AZ. But if I'm being real, I think AZ overall was actually a better lyricist than Nas. Like his verse on Life's a Bitch, and then you look at the whole Do or Die album. I mean, he's killing it. I mean, Do or Die was his most successful album too, right? And I mean, every song on Do or Die was so good. I loved every song on that. And I mean, the songs he does with guest on this record are pretty dope. I mean, you check out Uncut Raw. He's fresh on that. Give Me Yours with the chorus from Nas. Pete Rock producing it. Oh man, the beat, his lyrics, such an amazing song. Ho Happy Jackie. Rather unique, which uses the Big Daddy Kane sample so effectively. I Feel For You, which is pretty good. Then you got Sugar Hill, where, radio station DJ and classic hip hop singer Miss Jones sang the chorus and the backing vocals, which sounds very similar to the Granddaddy IU song called Sugar Free. I didn't even know this until I recently listened to Granddaddy IU song, and I'm like, this kind of sounds like Nas's Sugar Hill. But I look at it like this. If that's the case, he's influenced or ripping off, however you want to look at it. AZ is ripping off Granddaddy IU because his version came first, just straight up. But it could just be that they had similar ideas. And then you got Mo Money, Mo Murder by DR Period, which is a duet between Nas and AZ. It's a pretty long song, and they both killing it. Then you got Do or Die. You got We Can't Win, which had Amar Pep and Barsham doing verses. Yo, they both were so good on this. And I'll put it this way. Because AZ is just a monster with lyrics, they're both good. And it doesn't even take the hype away by the time he comes in with the third verse because it just keeps getting better and better throughout the song, which is amazing. And then Your World Don't Stop, another great song. Then the Sugar Hill remix. So all in general, this album is an amazing masterpiece. And it's like, if he had more success on later records, they probably would have recognized that he was just as significant as Nas, but they didn't. But overall, lyrically, AZ is probably one of the greatest lyricists in hip hop of all time. Sorry, I'm getting like calls while I'm in the middle of my show. I don't know why people trying to bother me with that ish when I'm doing this, but I'm like, I ain't even respond to them right now because I'm like, yo, okay, I'm trying to do my show. And it's like, we don't even got far to go. Since I am going to break this episode into two parts, just because we've been talking this long already, I'm like, I pretty much only got 24, 23, 22, and 21. So we got 4 more to go. So they can wait. Anyways, not anybody that important anyway. So yeah, 24, we got the man, the funky technician himself, Lord Finesse. Now, Lord Finesse, man. Lord Finesse, besides being an iconic producer who has produced songs like The Message for Dr. Dre, Suicidal Thoughts by Notorious B.I.G., 4 songs for Big L's debut album, Lifestyles of the Poor and Dangerous. This man is an incredible lyricist and producer with classic albums of his own. I mean, when he dropped The Funky Technician with DJ Mike Smooth, man, he had some of the most dopest punchlines ever. You look at Baby You Nasty, The Funky Technician, back-to-back rhyming with AG on the cut. Then you got Here I Come, Slave to My Soundwave. You got I Keep the Crowd Listening, Bad Mother, Keep It Flowing, Lesson to Be Taught, Just a Little Something, Strictly for the Ladies, and Track the Movement. Like, just start to finish, he is just ripping it up, man. He's got crazy lyrics. And then you got Return of the Funky Man. Now, this album itself, I actually think, even though it was less commercially successful than the first one, it was so good. I mean, he's got appearances from Showbiz and AG and Percy P on Yes You May. The remix had Big L on it. Show him How We Do Things with Harry O and Shell Rumble. Fat for the 90s with AG. Stop Sweating the Next Man. Funky on a Fast Tip. That's How Smooth I Am. Fuck 'em. Oh my God. Fuck 'em is probably one of my favorite songs on the album. Guilty pleasure, I admit it. But yo, that shit was dope. I like My Girls with a Boom. Hey, Look at Shorty. Save That Shit. Kicking Flavor with My Man. Like, all these songs were great. And then, of course, there was the, masterpiece of The Awakening. Third and final album. And I mean, he had True and Living. Oh Lord featuring OC. Brainstorm slash PSK. No Gimmicks remix featuring KRS-One and OC. Taking It Light featuring MC Light just as an interlude. Then he had Game Plan. Flip the Style. Speak Your Piece featuring Marquis, Diamond, and AG. Food for Thought. The Kid himself. Hip to the Game, which is probably one of my favorite songs ever. Then you had No Gimmicks with KRS-One and Actual Facts. So Actual Facts had Grand Poobah, Large Professor. I don't know why everybody's messaging me when I'm trying to do the show. Sorry, people. You can probably hear the vibrations, all the messages, the calls. I'm like, man, people don't even talk to me. I'm not even this important, but I'm not doing nothing. But the moment I get on live and try to do my show, they trying to hound me. I'm like, yo, this shit is crazy right here. But okay, anyways, sorry to stray off topic. But yeah, in my personal opinion, every album got better and better. And it's sad that there is no album after The Awakening, because The Awakening, in my opinion, is one of the greatest, most underrated hip hop albums of all time. From the production to the lyrics, Lord Finesse is killing them. And you listen to like his guest appearances on other people's songs, man, his punchlines, he's witty, he's fresh. I mean, you could tell Big Al definitely was influenced as his protege and came up with a lot of those clever lines. But I mean, that's where it came from. I mean, he had a line where he's like, something about like brothers can't see me like Stevie. Like he had something like that. Like he said, like, see, if people weren't stressing me out with all this, I'd be able to actually think about what the line is, but I can't even think because they bother me with all these messages and calls. Hold on, I'm just gonna give you an example. I want to leave y'all with an example of why this guy was so lyrical. He was so nice. So, okay. Rhymes more fresher than a virgin in a refrigerator. I'm the type that give any man a chance to come correct before leaving in an ambulance. Putting rhymes into shape just like Jack LaLanne. Like things like that, right? So it's like he had crazy like rhymes, much more than that too, but I just wanted to, shoot off a few more just so like you could get the idea. Anyways, now we're at 23. We're almost there. Hopefully they'll stop messaging me and calling me while I'm trying to do the show. For reals, that's so annoying. All right. Next we have Mace. Now, I mean Mace. So tight. Besides being a member of Children of the Corn with Big L, I mean, he appeared on Mo Money, Mo Problems with Notorious B.I.G., the Only You remix with 112. Then he helped Puffy write most of the album. Hold on. See, I'm hearing talking too, and that's throwing me off too. Why is everything fucking with me when I'm trying to make the show, man? I swear. No Way Out. That's what it was. See what I mean? All these distractions, all these people calling me and messaging me, throwing me off. I couldn't even remember what the album was called. No Way Out. So Mace wrote most of that. And then he dropped his amazing debut album, Harlem World, which is a CD I lent to somebody, and then they just kind of cut me off, so I never got it back, and I'm kind of pissed about that because, I used to listen to that shit on repeat. That album was so good, Harlem World. I mean, let me take you through it. Do you want to get money? Dope. Take What's Yours with DMX on the chorus. Dope. Will They Die For You? Oh my god, the beats, the lyric on that, he's crazy with that. Love You So, the Play Away. N-Words Wanna Act with Busta Rhymes in the background just doing backup vocals, and he's crazy and wild sounding. That was hype. Then you got Feel So Good, which samples Cool and the Gang's Hollywood Swinging. That was a big hit for him. What You Want with Total. Cheat on You with Little C's and Jay-Z. 24 Hours to Live with The Locks, Black Rob, and DMX was dope. I Need to Be, Wanna Hurt Mace. I mean, just fire. And then, of course, he did the Harlem World album. He did Double Up, which didn't do as well. But I mean, Harlem World sold almost 4.5 million copies. It was a huge success. He was killing it. Double Up sold gold. It went gold. It sold 500,000. But it still was a great song because you had songs like Get Ready with Blackstreet. You also had From Scratch with Shine making his first appearance. Harlem World and My Song. Like, he had great songs all throughout that record. Stay Out of My Way with Total. Great. I mean, he was killing it. And then he left to become a pastor. He comes back trying to do Welcome Back. Diddy won't let him release it without being a part of it. So it kind of discouraged Mace. He really didn't want to have anything to do with Diddy anymore, which with all the controversy surrounding him, you can't blame him. He didn't want to be near that creepy, weird dude, right? So he retired again. But I mean, in his prime, and I mean, even that album, when he did come back for a bit, the songs like Breathe, Stretch, Shake, Welcome Back, they were tight. So it's like he had so much more potential, but unfortunately, he was just cut short. And I mean, you hear the stuff he's rapping when he's with Children of the Corn and Big Al, he was killing it there too. I mean, Mace was just always nice, right? So, and that brings us to our second last one, Dr. Dre. Now, this dude doesn't write his own lyrics either. He's an amazing producer, but he's iconic to hip hop for the lyrics that other people have written for him and for the beats he has done for his own albums and for all the other great artists like Snoop Dogg, NWA, Eminem, his own albums, The Game, 50 Cent, all these artists, Tupac, like they all got beats from Dre, and Dre was killing it, right? So that's why I say, like, it was dope. It was a fresh, like, era when Dr. Dre was king. And I mean, you had the NWA stuff, iconic. Then you had the Chronic, a masterpiece of a hip hop album. The beats were some of the best of its time. The lyrics were fresh. It helped put Snoop Dogg on. You had classics like Fuck with Dre Day, Nothing But a G Thing, Let Me Ride, which won a Grammy. And then he leaves that. He forms Aftermath because problems with Death Row just wasn't working out with him. He did work a bit on Snoop Dogg's album and worked a little bit with the Dog Pound, but then he kind of bounced, right? And a little bit with Tupac before leaving. But then he forms Aftermath Records with Interscope. He drops Dr. Dre Presents the Aftermath, which went platinum, but everybody didn't think it was that good. And then same with the Firm album he produced. But I tried to point out this before, like when I was giving my example of King T. That album is really good, but you just can't look at it as just being a completely Dr. Dre album. That's the thing that hurts it. If you look at it just for the music quality throughout the record, it's actually a great record. It's just not a Dr. Dre album. But I'll put it this way, I think that album is better than Compton. Moving on, though, the song Been There, Done That is actually still one of my favorite Dr. Dre songs. Very underrated. I like the maturity of it. The beat is dark and like almost 90s apocalyptic and eerie. Like it's a real campfire tales shit, like listening to that, right? So I love it. And then he came back with the real second album, 2001. A masterpiece. Forgot about Dre. What's the difference? Still Dre. The Message. Like all these songs were bangers, man. They were all so good. This album was amazing from the beats to the lyrics. It was tight. That's what I was saying. My man Lord Finesse, as I was just mentioning. And see, I forgot to mention this too. Cool fact. I actually could have made a song with Lord Finesse. He was willing to produce a beat for me, but he would have wanted $3,000. I ain't have $3,000. I hope he doesn't think that I was trying to be cheap with him or disrespect him. I honestly didn't have it. If I had $3,000 for Lord Finesse to produce a beat for me, I'd give him $3,000 because he's worth it. He is a dope producer and a dope rapper. I would have loved to work with Lord Finesse. So there's no beef. I'm broke on disability. Nobody's buying my records either. So that's why I ain't got $3,000 to give you. If I was making millions, if I was even making, let's say, hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands, I'd gladly give Lord Finesse $3,000. Just so you know, nothing but love in that regard. But as I was saying, he produced that as the last track. And that was some of the deepest, rawest lyrics that Dr. Dre spit. Like that beat brought out this real emotion with Mary J. Blige and Rel singing on it. Then he did the Wash soundtrack, was dope. He continued to produce for other artists. And I'd say he was killing it right until Compton. Compton was the biggest disappointment ever. He would have probably been higher on this list if Compton wasn't so whack. And I'm not saying that as a hater. I'm saying that as I loved yo shit. All the way up to that, I was with you. I thought Dre could not fucking do no wrong. From the beats, the songs. I mean, that one song he did on the Chronic, and we're with a gun. Yo, that shit was hot, man. Like all that. I was with him. Like even the less known songs, I was totally digging. But that just did not live up to the expectations, the hype, or the standards. And I guess maybe that's kind of hard. Those are such iconic classics. It's kind of hard. But I mean, the beats wasn't really that good. The lyrics wasn't that good. The guests weren't even that good. Like some of them were. Not to say that, like, when Eminem and Ice Cube and Snoop and, the classic iconic guests were on it, and Exhibit even, and Cole 187, they all did great. I'm not even saying they didn't. It's the problem is there were a lot of not so good guests on it. There was not really that much as far as good beats. The best song on the record was one he did solo, which was My Diary. Everything else was kind of forgettable. And not to mention, I really hated the one Eminem line where he's like, I'm even the bitches, like, I make even the bitches I rape come. So I just thought, you know what, that ain't cool. That ain't shock value. You just seem like a sick, disturbed motherfucker. And like I kind of lost even more respect from Eminem, hearing that he had to come up with such a lame line, like a fucked up line like that, just to make him sound tougher on the record, and it just really didn't work. So yeah, the whole record fell flat, which is why he falls down to this position. He might have been higher if Compton wasn't so bad. But for all the other highs throughout his career, and I was rolling with him even when everybody was bashing the Aftermath. I love Dr. Dre Presents the Aftermath. I just didn't like Compton. That's why he falls in here. And now we have our final one for the episode, which is the one, the only, the teacher, the Blastmaster, KRS-One. And I mean, it's hard to even express how important or how good KRS-One is. KRS-One as a lyricist, he's a monster. He's crazy good with lyrics. As a hip hop icon, he's legendary because he's been there since right near the beginning. He literally created the concept of battling because up until then, everybody was just doing party rhymes or social conscious rhymes. MC Shen and Marley Marl did the bridge. KRS-One and BDP, they did the bridges over. Oh, you guys think you hot? No, no, no. Hip hop started in the Bronx, yo. We're going to show you how it's really done. And he killed it. And see, this wasn't violence or nothing, but this is what made rappers all start getting better. He turned it into a competition. And I say, not in a bad way, because by rappers learning how to battle, by competing with each other, all rappers had to get better. They all had to sharpen up their lyrical skills. So he is a teacher in that sense. And of course, if you try to step to him, you try to diss him, or you try to battle him, he was the blast master. He'd go kaboom. And then, he's got iconic songs like 9mm Goes Bang, The Sound of the Police. He was on that Dr. Dre Presents the Aftermath and probably had one of the most killer verses on the song. In fact, I would say he actually did have the best verse on that song. So that's what I'm saying. Like KRS-One is just such an icon for hip hop. I also love it because he's got the same first name as me. Me, Big Pun, Notorious B.I.G., and KRS-One. We're all Chris's. The four Chris's of hip hop. I love that, right? But yo, straight up though, as far as KRS-One, he is so iconic. I don't even know how to say much more than what I've already said, because if you don't know who KRS-One is, go look him up, because you can't even begin to describe this guy's discography, his biography, everything he has done for hip hop, and how crazy and big and important his career has been for hip hop, lyrically, musically, iconically, all of that. KRS-One, he's just the living legend. And without him, we would not even have the hip hop that we have today. So that's why he falls in at 21. Now, this will be the second last episode. I'll come back tomorrow to count down the final 20. I know everybody's probably excited to see what those 20 will be, but I hope for all the people who tuned in, you enjoyed, and, stay tuned for the final episode. It's going to be a good one. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Till next time, Matane, Super Kami Guru Alucard. Peace out.